Yes.
So your instruction for those dockets that were on the court roll to be transferred to General Sentumule was your own instruction. It did not come from the minister and it did not come from the National Commissioner.
Yes, it was my instruction based on my responsibility as the Deputy National Commissioner of Crime Detection.
Yes, but contrary to what this plan says, it was contrary to the plan. You were acting contrary to this plan.
I don't think I was really acting contrary to the plan because it all worked towards disbandment and towards handing over the docket, including the court cases.
Okay. Do you accept that your instruction that court-going cases, the court-going dockets must be transferred to head office contradicts bullet point 4 on page 372?
Can we fix, Chair, this thing that my instruction that the docket be transferred to head office? Because that's not the instruction that I gave, that the docket be transferred to head office. I said to the Divisional Commissioner Crime Detection.
But General, even that is contrary to the plan because the plan is that court-going dockets must remain with the PKTT. That's why the minister says, I approve the plan subject to the condition that the disbandment be completed in 2025. So even the minister was happy that the PKTT must continue to exist at least until the end of 2025. And court-going dockets were to remain with the current investigating officers, not to go to a different division. Even the minister says that.
You know why I'm taking time and quiet, Chair? It's like when I juxtapose what is contained in the report, the study that says we need to re-establish the specialized unit, the murder and robbery unit, and to capacitate them and to make sure that we resource them, resource capacity. And then with this instruction that says, all right, investigate, and then the court-going docket must remain there. Now, I'm trying, from my angle, in trying to push the performance of the detectives and capacitating the environments that we are talking about. In my case, to me, it was like all rivers leading into the ocean. I was saying we need to capacitate the murder and robbery unit, because in the murder and robbery unit, you don't have ordinary detectives who are not experienced. And even the same people that were there, they could still be the same people that just taken into the murder and robbery with their dockets.
General, what started this debate was a reference by Ms. Hassim to the transfer of the dockets to head office of Pretoria. But throughout until then, Ms. Hassim has been referring to the transfer of dockets to General Sentumule. So I think that's what we must understand here to be talking about. And the question is, do you accept that your instruction that all dockets must go to General Sentumule was at odds with what the plan said, which was, insofar as court-going dockets are concerned, those are not to be transferred to General Sentumule? That's the simple point Ms. Hassim is making. Do you accept that? That is, you gave an instruction that was at odds with the plan. Whatever the justification.
Out of respect of the Chair, I will accept, but under normal circumstances, Chair, I was not going to accept in this sense, in a sense that...
You must testify in accordance with what you know, the factual position that you know. It doesn't matter who the question comes from. Do you accept that your plan was that, or rather, your instruction that all dockets, including dockets in respect of court-going matters, should be transferred to General Ntumule?
That was my instruction, Chair.
Thank you. The answer, Ms. Hassim, is that he accepts that his instruction was at odds with the plan.
Thank you, General. I think we can leave it there, because what that confirms then is that you were acting on your own without, not in accordance with instructions from either the Minister or the National Commissioner.
You take us there. Do you agree that upon its inception, the PKTT was mandated to investigate political killings?
I accept that, Chair.
And do you accept that that mandate was extended at a later stage to investigate something else, that is, or rather, in addition to political killings, the PKTT was now to investigate something else as well? Do you accept that?
Traditional leader, I accept that, Chair.
But between inception and the date of extension of the mandate, it could only investigate political killings. You accept that? That is, before the extension, between inception and extension, it could only investigate political killings. Do you accept that?
They could only, but it doesn't necessarily mean it was what happened or what they were doing.
So I was saying they were able to go beyond their mandate even before their mandate was extended. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
And you say the answer for that lies in the document you want to refer us to?
That is correct.
Please take us there, and I hope we will find that.
You are looking for SS 19, file 2339.
Look at 3. Then Hausa. It's a household robbery and theft, not political related.
But General, are you aware that there were parallel cases which would not necessarily be political killings, but parallel in the sense that they are related to political killings? And because they are parallel, it wouldn't make sense for those cases to be investigated separately. So they would be lumped together and be investigated together. Are you aware of that?
I am aware, Commissioner or Chair. I am aware. However, Chair, the documents specify that says when you look at the one at Kwanongoma number 4, it's taxi related. Now I do understand and accept that there will be a parallel case. Sometimes it becomes a taxi related, but I don't know how it will add to political or how it will be a parallel case to political. But in some instances, you find that it's a traditional or it's a politician's son or relative that was killed for any other reason that is not political or that has got nothing to do with the work that has been done by.
But you see, General, the problem is it doesn't assist us for you to just randomly pick cases that on their face appear not to be political cases without at the same time telling us that I know for a fact that this particular case was not a parallel case. If you cannot do that, the exercise you are engaging us in does not assist at all.
General, can I, as a follow-up to this, just maybe to try and see if you're able to make your point, if you go to case number 5.
General, just to show you that even the audit is wrong, just look at Madden on number 5, on 357. Do you see that it classifies the case as a traditional leader case?
Yes.
But that is wrong because I had asked you to go to file 2 in the handover report. Now, in the handover report, you will see on 340, Madden is classified as case number 57, CAS 74-12-2021, pointing of a firearm. It's a parallel docket. It's not a traditional. See, and this is the problem with relying on an audit that you did not do and dockets you did not see, because the handover report does not describe that case as a traditional leadership case. You can go and look at it yourself.
The last one, so that I can move out of this document.
Are you on page 340 of file 2?
340.
340 of file 2. Remember, the beauty of a handover report is that it is signed by both General Khumalo and General Sentumule,
Yes.
right?
Yes, Chair.
Whereas an unsigned draft audit report, nobody has signed it and we don't know who produced it. Now, in that unsigned SS23, it says Madden is a traditional leader case, and then it says it's a murder case, 7412-2021. But if you go to the handover report on page 340, you see that there are parallel dockets and it's 16 of them. And then case number 57, it's Madden, same case number, but it's the pointing of a firearm. It's not a murder case, and it is not a traditional leader case. Do you see that?
Just to parallel cases. Madden case 74 of 12, 2021, pointing of firearm.
General, these are your annexures. There's no way I can take a quicker time to understand them than you do.
No,
you know what I'm talking about.
I don't deny, because it's something that I also see that has been pointed out to me now, that I see now. But, and I accept, Chair, whatever weaknesses are there or exists or mistakes exist in the document. But what I wanted to just also then point out in conclusion on this one from my side, I want to say, when you look at number 7,
No, before we do that, can you accept that Madden is a parallel docket and it is a pointing of a firearm case? According to the handover report.
I accept.
And if you go to the next page, 341, starting from number 74, those are traditional leadership cases. Do you see that?
345. Box 3.
No. General, where are you?
I'm at page 345, looking at...
No, we are in file 2. Remember, we were in file 2 on page 340, and we were looking at the Madden case.
This is file 2.
Item number 57.
No.
And General, I apologize for being impatient. I assume that these are your annexures that you attached to your affidavit and that you knew them. This is a handover report. You must look at it. Go to page 342. Are you there?
I'm at 342.
Now, when the dockets were handed over by General Khumalo to General Sentumule on the 28th of March 2025, do you see that they both signed that document?
I do.
Confirming that these are the dockets that were handed over.
I do.
And they are classified according to type of case. If you go back to 339, 56 of them are politically related. Do you see that?
Page?
339.
339.
Are you there?
Yes, sir.
So you see that it's 56 politically related dockets.
I see, Chair.
Yes. And then you go to the next page, which was Chair's point. It's 16 parallel dockets. Do you see that?
I see that.
And the first one is Madden.
I see.
Yes. You go to the next page, you've got the ad hoc dockets. It's one from East Court.
I see, Chair.
And then traditional leadership is 45. On page 341.
345.
341.
341.
The next page.
I've got it.
Yes. So you can't rely on the case numbers because a case number simply reflects the case number from the station of origin. It is not a docket opened when it is handed over to the PKTT. So when you see a case number that says 2019 in 92, case 92, you know that it doesn't mean PKTT was looking at that from 2019. It simply means in the station of origin, that docket was opened in that year.
Now, firstly, Chair, we will need, I think both of us, Chair, we will need to ascertain that fact from a case docket itself. Because now for me to just give in and say, yes, I agree, it was just only transferred after this request for funding, when in fact it may not be the case. So, but what I wanted to just point out, Chair, is that what is important, what I see here, as pointed out, it was a mistake that the Madden case that
And
the
there
Chair...
are many of them, because
yes.
I've analyzed that audit report. There are many of them.
But yes, where I want to take the Chair to is the fact that both General Khumalo and Sentumule signed for it.
No, they didn't sign the audit report. They did not sign the audit report. They signed the handover report. The audit report you are relying on is SS23. It is not signed by anybody. It is just a document that starts from nowhere and ends nowhere. And you've annexed that to your affidavit in this commission to justify your attack on the PKTT.
It is unfortunate that Chair, that the Commissioner Khumalo see it as an attack on the PKTT, when in fact me, from where I'm coming from, as an employee of the South African Police Service, in my capacity as the Deputy National Commissioner responsible for detectives, being given an instruction by the National Commissioner to get involved and do 1, 2, 3, 4. At a later stage, then it got turned into like I'm attacking my actions or attacking the PKTT.
But General, sorry, Ms. Hassim. General, you say you cannot accept the proposition that that killing or traditional killings matters could only have been handled by the PKTT from April. You say we would have to look deeper or further into the matter to establish what the true position is. I just do not understand that because you have accepted what the mandate was when the PKTT was established, and you have accepted that that mandate was for the investigation of political killings. And we know from the documents that my colleague, Commissioner Baloyi, and indeed before that, Ms. Hassim, drew your attention to, that the mandate to do political cases, traditional killings, is extended only in April of 2024. So I just don't understand this idea that before April 2024, possibly, as you seem to suggest, the PKTT could have investigated traditional leader killings, even before the mandate was extended. I just do not understand that.
From my work environment that I know, is that long before the request for funding, they were already investigating such cases of traditional leaders. It didn't just only start last year. They were already investigating it. It's a point I'm prepared to lay my neck on the block and say they didn't start now.
But you see, you took us to the document that my colleague, Commissioner Khumalo, was engaging you with. And you randomly showed us this case and that case and that case to make this point that you are making. And then I said to you, but, General, you do not seem to be distinguishing between the fact that the PKTT would also investigate parallel matters. And there's a logical reason for that. You cannot split related cases or parallel cases and to have them investigated at separate places. So there was a reason for that. Now you randomly show us cases in a manner that suggests that you are not drawing that distinction. So now you're saying, but I do know that even before, I said, if you remember, I said, you seem to suggest that we will get an answer from a certain document that you were referring us to. We've gone to that document, and that's when you randomly pointed at cases in a manner that suggests that you are not factoring this distinction, the distinction between political killings and cases that are parallel to political killings. So thus far you have not really shown us the difference you sought to show us. Now you are saying, but I know for a fact that they had started long ago, and yet you had said the answer for them starting long ago is in this document. And thus far, this document has not assisted you. So where else, or from what other document, or from what other evidence, or yes, evidence, do you base the long ago?
May I just...
General, as you prepare to answer that question, keep in mind also that your testimony yesterday was that you had nothing to do, you knew nothing about the PKTT, their operations, what they were doing, until you were now suddenly introduced to this. You remember we did that exercise about what did you know, at which point did you know, but your evidence yesterday was you had nothing to do with the PKTT until you were asked to sign this recommendation in April 2024. So if you say, I know for a fact they were investigating, you need to explain how would you have known that in your position? And as the chair says, where do we see that in the documents that they were in fact investigating?
You see, Chair, the line of questioning by the commissioners worries me in this sense. The chair asked me a specific question that I must respond to specifically, and just when I'm about to, because now as the chair speaks and I frame how to respond, then Commissioner Baloyi says, before you respond, then come up with a different angle, and then that goes also deeper into a different subject, or that is a different response.
I withdraw my question.
No,
Answer the chair's question, and then I can ask you my question after that.
That's what I wanted to ask, Chair.
No. The two are related. The two are related. You are saying long before the mandate was extended, you know for a fact that they had already been investigating traditional leadership killings. Now, all that Commissioner Baloyi is saying, the knowledge that you are referring to, or rather, bear in mind, as you show us how you know, bear in mind that you have said you were not involved at all with the PKTT until the time that you were asked to sign the document on funding in 2024. So that's all it adds. It doesn't change the complexion. It doesn't change the picture. It just says, where do you get this knowledge from, bearing in mind the fact that you say you were not involved with the PKTT? General, unfortunately, that does not answer my question.
Okay.
All it does is to say that this happens and then you have to bring in a new detective. That's not what, and then the new detective has to then look at the content. Doesn't answer my question. My question is, when you bring in that new detective, even in the circumstances that you describe, which are that this happens all the time, when you bring in that detective, they have to get used to the content of the docket. And if the content is complex, and what needs to be done by way of an investigative process is also complex, that new investigator will take a bit of time to get used to that docket and also to know what needs to be done. Even in the circumstances that you refer to, which you say happen all the time, surely that must be the position. You can't walk in and within 2 hours you know what you need to do, not in respect of a complex docket and complex investigation. This is only logical. Do you agree?
I fully agree.
Yes. Now, do you agree that these two, in addition to the earlier disruption which you have accepted, do you agree that these two would be disruptive to the investigative process? The fact that in circumstances where you already had PKTT investigators, you halt everything and you bring in new investigators, that too was going to be disruptive to the investigative process.
It is
That is correct.
Yes.
So again, I make my earlier point that your 84.2 was meaningless. Disruption was simply inevitable. You must agree, based on the other agreements you've already given. It must simply be so, correct?
I choose not to agree with the chair on this one.
Yes.
Chair, in any normal process of exchange or handing over, or this outline measures necessary to ensure that ongoing investigations were not disrupted. At least it should be a plus on my side, Chair, from the chair, to say I agree with you and you did very well here, and dealt with transitional arrangement relating to the disbandment of the PKTT. In other ways, I'm trying to at all times be mindful that we shouldn't lose the fact that docket must be attended to.
Okay, perhaps let me leave out the meaningless because it seems that disturbs you. Let me leave it at the two concessions you have already made, which is the storage of the dockets would result in disruption. The change of investigators would result in disruption. I will leave it at that. Thank you, General.
Thank you, Chair.
Sorry, can I ask two questions? General, I'm worried that you have contradicted yourself or I misunderstood you. Remember on the first day when you came here, I asked you a question. Was your instruction to General Khumalo that the PKTT dockets must be transferred to the detective? And that was your answer was yes. You remember that?
I do.
Yes. So there was no instruction that General Sentumule must go to KZN and simply inspect dockets. Do you accept that?
I do.
The instruction was that they must be taken away from PKTT and be given to detective and forensic services, correct?
That is correct.
Yes. So when you now say to the chair, all that needed to happen was that they needed to go to KZN and simply inspect the dockets and not bring them to Pretoria. That was not the instruction that you gave. Unless you can show us in the documents that are in our possession where your instruction was clear that the dockets are not to leave KZN. Are you able to show us a document that you have penned or written that says the dockets are not to leave KZN?
Just to quickly answer on saying, no, there is no such an instruction where say the dockets are not to leave KZN.
Now pause there. Where is General Sentumule based? Where is her office?
She's based at head office.
In?
Head office. In Pretoria.
In Pretoria. So if dockets are to be transferred to her, where would they naturally go?
The same applies to General Khumalo.
No, I'm not asking about General Khumalo. I'm saying if PKTT dockets are to be transferred to General Sentumule, who is based in Pretoria, where would they naturally go?
Where they will naturally go is to go to the Deputy Provincial Commissioner Crime Detection in KZN.
But General Sentumule is not in KZN. You have just said yourself the dockets were to be transferred to General Sentumule. That was your instruction.
You see, in all fairness, Chair, in all fairness, what under normal circumstances should have happened was for General Sentumule and General Khumalo to fly down to KZN, do the handing over among themselves, and for General Sentumule to hand over the dockets to the provincial commissioner or to the deputy provincial commissioner responsible for crime detection, under whose command murder and robbery unit falls. She didn't, and she's not the one basically who also brought the dockets to head office. They were brought by crime intelligence by General Khumalo himself to head office.
No, General. General Sentumule and Brigadier Khopoditata went to KZN. We've had that evidence already. My simple question is this. Is there an instruction by you that General Sentumule must hand those dockets to the provincial detective services?
May I correct the commissioner? The files were brought by a Colonel Khumalo from KZN to General Khumalo, the project coordinator at head office. This was not supposed to be the case. So General Sentumule never went to KZN.
General, remember my question was, can you show us your instructions? Remember in SAPS we work with instructions. So they report to you, you give them instructions. And you've accepted that your instruction was that General Khumalo must hand over the dockets to General Sentumule. Now you are saying to us, General Sentumule should have handed them to the head of the detectives in the province. That's what you say. Can you show us your instruction where you say to General Sentumule she must hand them to the head of provincial detectives? It either exists or it doesn't. And if it exists, can you please show it to us?
Commissioner, in a normal working environment, I understand I'm now in the commission or before the commission. Just like when I'm in court, then when maybe the prosecutor or the magistrate or the judge will say, show us this. But what happened is that General Sentumule called General Mkoposi to say, now we need to take over this docket. And then General Mkoposi said, you must please speak to the PC before I sign for this docket. That's when General Sentumule called the PC. And the PC said, I don't want this docket here. That's how it happened.
So can we leave it at there is no such instruction?
It's fine.
Because it's either there or it's not. General, either the instruction exists or it doesn't exist.
The instruction that the docket must not leave KZN.
Yes.
I just want to understand that question.
Yes.
For the docket to be brought to KZN.
General, the instruction exists or it doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist.
Yes, thank you.
Chair, may I raise,
Yes, General.
may I raise a concern?
Yes, General.
You know, Chair, there's no wrongdoing whatsoever that happened in the process. But the way I am being pushed into a certain corner that says, is there an instruction that says the docket must go to head office or not? I've never given such an instruction. It never happened that I said take the docket from head office to now. General, it was planned maybe. They decided to take the docket themselves to head office. Now it is on my shoulder, and I'm the one who must now bear responsibility why they left KZN to head office, when in fact I did not give such instruction. That's the only concern I wanted to raise, Chair.
Thank you, General. We will assess the testimony at the appropriate stage and see what we think happened or did not happen. Thank you, General.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. On this, yes, but you see the difference between what you're saying now and what you say in this letter is that you don't say in this letter that the dockets should go to murder and robbery. You say the transfer of all dockets closed currently under investigation and in court must go to division, detective and forensic services.
Murder and robbery
yes.
falls under that.
So you're saying what you actually meant was that it should go to murder and robbery?
Yes.
That's what you meant when you wrote this?
That is General Sintumula.
General Sintumula has given evidence to this commission and testified that she was placed under pressure to collect the dockets, placed under pressure from you to take possession of the dockets. What's your response to that?
I would agree.
Okay. And General Khumalo has also testified and speaks specifically to this period after the 4th of February, the letter. And he said that between 4 Feb and particularly after 4 Feb, he said it was during that period that the Divisional Commission, that General Sintumula was pressing him to hand over the dockets to her. So you agreed that her understanding was that she must take possession of it.
Can I explain something, Chair? Please do take into account the fact that there was already a presentation made in Parliament and an action plan was made by General Khumalo himself that says this is the action plan, this is what we are going to do.
It wasn't yet. There was no such thing at this point in February. This period between, I said, after the 4 February letter.
No, we are in the 22nd of April now.
Now, I was referring you to the pressure that was being applied on General Sintumula in February to take, as you agreed, to take possession of the documents, of the dockets.
I just feel that I'm being punished for being effective, in a sense that if I try to say, let us move and let us make sure that we don't keep things lying around, let this handing over be finalized, it's a problem because now someone was being pressured into bringing the docket, and which is, we were working within the official instruction coming from the minister to the national commissioner to us. And we are at all material times complying with the national commissioner's instruction to make sure that we push the handing over process.
So now you're saying it was the national commissioner who gave the instruction to push this process? Because earlier when I asked you about these letters, you said, no, this was your responsibility. You took initiative on this.
But the letter or the email that was written to me on the 3rd of January was directing me to get involved, communicate the minister's directive to the relevant team, and then the subsequent meetings that happened, that took place. Those subsequent meetings were in relation to the disbandment itself and making sure that the minister's instruction is adhered to. And that was what was happening. Now, everything was happening in the normal course of duty, in the same spirit of we are complying with the instructions. So I was, even if I was acting myself, whatever letter that I wrote, it was still within the instruction that I received to say this is where we are going.
Would you agree then? I mean, I think what you're saying is no, you did not give this instruction that it should be transferred to the head office. And what did you do then when it was transferred to the head office?
General Sintumule informed me that General Khumalo came, brought the docket, and then she put a team together to do a handing over. And then that's when I started saying, hey, let now this docket. This when I wrote this letter that says now, because I didn't want it to waste time. I said, let it go, let this process be finalized within 7 days. Because I was trying to shorten even the date, the time in between, to say this docket must now reach where they must be investigated within a very short space of time. Now, you can see that time, for me, time was of essence. And so that we do this process and finalize it without any delay, further disrupting the further investigation of the docket.
That's not quite what is said in your letter of 22 April, because it says you're calling for the transfer of all dockets, again, closed, currently under investigation and in court, to General Sentumule. That's what you're calling for?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yes. So the point is, if the dockets are with General Sentumule and all of the evidence with General Sentumule, they're not being investigated. They're in a repository.
That is not correct.
And that's in fact what happened.
No, it's not what was supposed to happen. We are doing this ignoring or leaving out the fact that what caused this docket being kept at head office for a particular period of time. Had it not been the fact that General Mkhwanazi rejected the docket, we wouldn't be sitting here.
Which, can you just be specific? When he rejected the dockets, when?
When immediately after these dockets, there was a handing over. And they then called him and said, we are bringing the dockets, and he rejected them. That is the beginning of the problem.
You mean after they were taken to the head office?
Yes.
Okay, and we will come there. For now, what I'm trying to establish with you is that your instructions are repeatedly deliver all of the evidence in these cases under the control of the PKTT, deliver it to General Sentumule.
Let's not use the word deliver it to General Sentumule.
Oh, transfer. Sorry, you used the word transfer.
Yes. It was not our intention to disband a task team and form another task team. But we are now caught up in the middle of a situation where the KZN PC said, no, I don't want this docket in my province. Let them see what they are doing with it. Now, if that is the case, what other options did I have as the head of investigations was to make sure that work continues. And for the work to be continued, it needed a budget. And it was sent to the National Commissioner, and it stayed for quite some days. He only signed it after I was suspended, and he signed it and actually said, no, the docket must go back to KZN. That's when the docket went to KZN. Something the National Commissioner could have actually given that instruction a long time ago and say, this docket must go to KZN by tomorrow.
Well, General, I think it's important how you explain things. You say the National Commissioner said to you, well, then make a plan. That's not what you said. That's not the evidence. The evidence, and from you, but also from the National Commissioner himself, is that he said General Sbiya is the one that ordered that these dockets should be removed. He should see to finish, basically. He must sort this out. So, and that's completely different from the impression that you're now creating, that when General Mkhwanazi refused to accept the docket, the National Commissioner said to you, well, make a plan. It didn't happen. And it's important that you express it accurately. He did not give you instructions to make a plan, even on your own version. He said to you, he'll see to finish. Let Sbiya decide what to do. Isn't that what happened, in fact?
May I respond, Commissioner? It is not true that the National Commissioner said, I get rumor. I hear rumors that the dockets are here at head office. What are the dockets doing here at head office when they must be at the stations, as was discussed? It's not what happened. The National Commissioner would not even say that and say, let General Sbiya see what to do, because he's the one who gave instructions that the docket must come to head office. I've never given that instruction that the docket must come to head office.
I'm not discussing with you now whether or not you gave that instruction. I'm not saying that. I'm saying your characterization of the National Commissioner's response when he was informed, or when he came to know that the General Mkhwanazi refuses to accept the dockets. His response was not a commander or a superior to you saying, well, we have a problem, come up with a plan. That's not the evidence that we've had. And that was not your account. When you criticized him, remember in your evidence you criticized how the National Commissioner dealt with this. The account we have from him and from you, at least I thought you agree with that account, that he said, let General Sbiya deal with this because he created this.
Not because he created this. He said, let General Sbiya use his discretion.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, he must attend to it.
Let him use his discretion how to deal with this.
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
And that was in a positive way, not in a negative way, because we were with him. Several other meetings where this subject came to the fore, or where this matter was ventilated, where discussions or decisions were taken or directives given. This was the first document that kick-started the whole thing. But there has been a number of meetings. In those meetings where we're sitting with the Minister, National Commissioner, and this point is being discussed, and then we know coming out of that meeting, this is what must happen. So whatever letter that I had to go and write or that I wrote, it's not like I just was just now pushing and running alone in my own lane, whilst there has been a series of meetings, considering the fact that at some point the minister expressed his dissatisfaction or unhappiness.
Yeah, no, don't go to the minister. The minister is in March, the 6th of March. You are far ahead. You have said in your statement and in your testimony that SS9 is the instruction from the National Commissioner on the basis of which you acted. All the steps that you took them on the basis of this instruction. So where the National Commissioner says he doesn't know, you were doing your own thing, he's being honest, you've criticized the National Commissioner because you said, but I got an instruction from his office. And you've relied on SS9. And SS9, and you say you prepared an implementation, to implement the deactivation of the PKTT, hence your letter of the 17th and you sending it to General Khumalo, hence your February letter, and hence your April letter. You say it is because you were acting on an instruction SS9. Now, SS9 doesn't call on you to implement the deactivation of the PK. And that's a big issue. It's been a big issue here with previous witnesses, that you went ahead and implemented, gave instructions, this whole debate about moving all these PKTT matters to General Sintumule. Remember, we looked at that letter yesterday in the first paragraph where you say with immediate effect. And you continued to give instructions. You have repeatedly said, I acted on the National Commissioner's instruction as communicated to me through Litoko, which is the normal way in which we communicate. Now, all I'm putting to you, or that I'm discussing with you, is that SS9 doesn't instruct you or even authorize you to implement a deactivation of the PKTT. All it does, on a reading, simple reading of it, it says you must communicate the minister's decision, and then to the relevant team, and which you do by informing General Khumalo, and then it says submit a close-up report by the 14th of January for the National Commissioner to consider and sign off to the minister. That's all it says. So you could not have been relying on SS9 to implement with immediate effect the deactivation of the PKTT.
May I respond, Chair?
Yes.
When we read SS9, can we also take it along with SS10? The very next page, which is page 200. Meaning, all I did...
So which part? There are two emails.
There are two emails.
SS10. Which one do you want us? Because the first one, the bottom one, is a repeat of SS9.
No.
And then there's the top one from Afinand. Which one do you want us to look at? And which one are you speaking to?
This, the one of SS10.
Yes, I'm saying, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you rudely. I just want clarification. There are two emails on SS10 at page 200. Which one do you want us to take into account when we read SS9?
What I want to demonstrate here, Chair, with respect, is that here is an instruction that comes from the National Commissioner that says, as directed, DNC is requested to accordingly communicate the deactivation to the relevant team. Now, the same email, and this was on the 3rd of January 2025, 1407. Now, the same email was sent now on the 7th of January 2025, at 11:22, from Colonel Afinand, and then Colonel Afinand is in my office.
Yes.
And addressed to Divisional Commissioner Crime Intelligence, Khumalo. And now, what I want to refer to these things that I'm now forwarding the same instruction from the National Commissioner's office, same instruction to the Divisional Commissioner. I'm communicating. I'm doing that. What the National Commissioner says, I want you to do the following. The same email.
What did the National Commissioner say he wants you to do? That's really my discussion with you, General. You just tell us what did the National Commissioner say he wants you to do as through Brigadier Litoko? What did he say he wants you to do on the 3rd of January?
To communicate the deactivation.
Yes.
To the relevant team.
Yes.
And that's how I understand it, the deactivation.
To communicate it.
To the team.
Yes.
In other words, inform the team
Yes.
that now we are embarking on a different road trip. We are now deactivating.
Yes.
Now communicate this to the team.
Yes.
Now I take the same instruction to General Khumalo in the same, as you can see, it is in the same page, Commissioner. Now say, the DNC crime detection has directed that the trailing email be forwarded for your attention and the closing report for sign off by the 13th January 2025, please. In other words, the National Commissioner, because he was coming back on the 14th of January, he wanted me to come and brief him on the 14th of January. So in my case, I had to be ready by the 13th, so that when he come, I already have the report. And I've discussed it. Then the next morning, I present it to the National Commissioner. All I wanted to say was that I didn't just out of my own act. Something triggered and directed me to act, and I acted as per the directive from the Office of the National Commissioner to the relevant team. That's what I did.
Yeah. General, you said in paragraph 71 and consistently in your evidence that email from Brigadier Letoko was the National Commissioner's office, or the National Commissioner himself, instructing you to implement, to implement, in fact, you say to communicate the deactivation, which is paragraph 1 of this email. So that you discharge. But then you then say to implement the deactivation. That's the second thing that you say the National Commissioner instructs, to implement the deactivation of the PKTT. And then 3, to submit a closeout report by the 14th of January, right? And what I'm saying to you is, looking at this Brigadier Letoko email, it does not give you instruction to implement the deactivation. It says only 2 things. It says communicate and submit a closeout report. The implementing part is not in that. It's not the basis on which you could have acted, because it's not part of that email from Brigadier Letoko.
To start with, Chair, I believe that the moment I begin, let me put it this way. When the minister wrote a letter to the National Commissioner to say, this is what I see, how I see it, and this is what I want done, the moment the National Commissioner implement the national or forward it to the next person lower, the National Commissioner is beginning to act on the minister's letter.
That's the way you see it.
That's the way I see it. That's now beginning to implement.
Yes.
That's the implementation now. Because if the National Commissioner was not in agreement, it was going to have to bounce back from that level back and say, can I engage? But now, in this case, the fact that now it had to now cascade further down, it means now we are now in an implementation stage.
Can we agree? I think it's easier if we agree that that SS9, which is also repeated in SS10, does not say to you, implement the deactivation. It doesn't say that when you read it. Just on the face of it, General, and it really should be easy for you to accept that.
What makes it difficult for me to accept is that a close-up report, the word close-up report, is a big word.
No, it may be a big word, General. You say 3 things. You know you're distinguishing between, in your paragraph 71, you distinguish between a close-up report and implementation of the deactivation. So you understood it as you were drafting this 71, paragraph 71, that those 2 are different. So let's not now conflate them and try and make them to mean the same thing, or implementation flows from a close-up report. You understand, and you express it that way in paragraph 71, that he instructed you to do 3 things. You don't say in 71, he said, communicate and prepare close-up report, and because he said prepare close-up report, I started implementing. That's not what you say. You say, he said implement. And so where he says he never gave me instructions to implement, he's being dishonest. That's what you've said, consistently. And what I'm putting to you, or what I'm simply discussing with you, is you could not rely on SS9, and insofar as you're trying to rely on SS10, you can't for the instruction to implement, because they do not say to you, implement. They say only two things: close-up report, communicate.
I think, Chair, at this point in time, and I beg for your indulgence on this one, Chair, in this sense, if myself, I get this email and I give it to my legal team who assist me to craft the statement, who also understand it the same way and say, all right, in crafting, and the word implement was used, as far as I'm concerned, this is how I understood it to mean. But if I was wrong, or maybe in the eyes of the chair or the commissioners, it's two different words, I will accept it without being argumentative. But as far as I'm concerned, the intention was not to deviate from the National Commissioner's instruction, because to me, as far as I'm concerned, I thought it means exactly the same thing. So I just want to say, Chair, that communicate the deactivation to the team and prepare a close-up report. Already we have crossed the line of, we are now implementing. That's what I thought. But if I'm wrong, Commissioners, I will give up on this one.
So I just want to be clear, and it's not about what we prefer or the mistakes made by our lawyers, if that's what you're suggesting. I'm looking at SS9, and all I need you to, or what I'm testing with you is, do you, and I expect you should accept, that SS9, on the face of it, does not contain an instruction, doesn't contain 3 instructions. It contains only 2 instructions, and it does not contain an instruction to implement the deactivation, just on the face of it. You've read it into the record. You may have read in your head, interpreted it, and decided it does contain an instruction to implement. That's a conversation for another day, how you would have gotten there. But I'm simply now discussing with you that on the face of it, it doesn't tell you to implement the deactivation of the PKTT. On the face of it.
Chair, if I was arguing with the person at my level, I was going to take it further, but at this point in time, I want to cut it short.
Earlier, General, I said your responses should not depend on who is engaging you. So please give the response that you want to give. I'm sorry for the interruption, Commissioner Malloy. So please respond, General.
Chairperson, I don't want to really sound as if like I am, and I don't want to anger the commissioners as well. I want to leave it at that.
General, no, please speak freely. You make our job easy when you speak freely, because we need to get to the bottom of the facts. You shouldn't not say things because you don't want to make me
angry. If I was talking to my lawyer, Chair, she was going to say that's semantics.
Try it with me. Maybe I'll say the same thing.
Yes. She was going to say to me, I mean, it's one thing. You implemented, you want the close-up report. We are saying close, implement. And now the chair is strictly holding me onto a word and say, this word doesn't mean this, but when you look at the ultimate goal, we are going to the same direction.
General, maybe that word means this word means that, whatever you mean with that. All I'm asking
I want to
you.
apologize, Chair, that I said that I hope it's not going to be used against me anywhere as well.
No. All that we will do is to assess the evidence. Be assured of that,
Thank you, Chair.
General.
General, all I am seeking from you is, do you accept on the face of SS9 that it doesn't contain an instruction to implement? It doesn't contain, maybe let me simplify it. Do you accept, and as I think you must, that on the face of SS9 there are no words that read, which is in your paragraph 71, there are no words that say implement the deactivation of the PKTT. I want to keep it simple. Do you accept that? On the face of it?
I accept it.
All right, thank you.
Explanation. Do you accept that the proper thing to do is to first plan for what's going to happen with the dockets, and then you remove and reallocate dockets? Because you cannot reallocate them to non-existent detectives. When you reallocate them, you must know that there are detectives there who are qualified, who will take over the investigations. Do you accept that the planning must happen before the removal of the dockets? Simple.
I do accept, Commissioner, and also the fact that this document, that the one that I signed, makes provision for that they must then go to be transferred to Madlanga.
General, let's not go there. You accepted that your document was rejected by General Masemola. He went with Khumalo's plan. So it doesn't help to keep going back to a document that was rejected. It was not accepted. You were at the parliamentary briefing. You were at the 6 March briefing. You know that it was not your document that was presented. It was something else. You know that. Thank you, Ms. Hassan.
Thank you. Sorry, General, did you want to respond?
Chair, what I know is that what was presented to Parliament, what was saying we are disbanding? That what was presented in Parliament, is that what was saying we are disbanding? That's what I know. And there was no objection from any direction.
But General, the big difference between what was presented and what you did was how you're going to go about it. Your document is immediate disbandment. As we discussed it, you immediately said things now fall under General Sintumule, and you gave all of those instructions of things that should happen, and you continued to do that in your subsequent correspondence, when in fact the National Commissioner's position was we're going to do this gradually. So you're right to say there was no, in Parliament, there was no disagreement with the disbandment, at least what was presented in Parliament. It was about how it is done. And we're having this big debate with you, and suggestions have been made about your motives, why you approached it in a certain way. It's this big difference that you were going for immediate disbandment when the National Commissioner wanted a gradual winding up. And so you were implementing, the two of you were implementing different strategies.
No, Chair. At some point, I began to, especially after Parliament, I began to realize, because I was there, that, okay, this is how it's going to be undertaken. And then I fell into the same line of thinking. The only difference became now when the dockets now were at head office. Then I say, all right, now that the dockets are at head office, let this docket then be transferred immediately. Let this process take place. Maybe I must accept that for me then to have said also, let them also, the members reporting back to their respective environment, maybe I must accept there that it could have been an error of judgment there, and I'm taking that part. responsibility.
But that's not the only difference. It's not about when the dockets had now arrived. We went through your different letters and the presentation in Parliament, which is that gradual way of doing things. This is the General Khumalo presentation, and you say you were present. You still went and issued a letter in April that contradicted something that was in that plan. And that's something, there was an endless discussion with Ms. Hassim this morning about it, where the plan was the court-going dockets should remain, should not be part of what is handed over. They should remain with whoever the investigators, I think it is. And you offered, you gave a contrary instruction in April. So there was, you did fundamentally differ with what was done or what was preferred by General Masemola.
Yes, commissioners, I do hear and understand. But for the court docket, when we talk about court docket, we're talking about investigation that has been concluded. It's a court docket. Now, those ones, it's not the reason why you should still keep the task team still alive, because these are dockets that have been investigated, even if a person is
Let me stop you. Don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying that's why the task team should have continued. I was just dealing with you saying the only difference was about the dockets, that, you know, the dockets were brought up to General Sintumule, and as soon as you found out, you ordered they should go back. And I was just correcting that no, there was another point of difference between what you were doing and what the National Commissioner and General Khumalo were proposing and approved by the Minister to be done. One example is this issue about the court enrolled dockets, I think that's what it is called. You said even those must be given to General Sintumule, when in fact the plan that ultimately in that 6 March meeting, the Minister says, I was okay with it, said those should remain with the investigators. So that's another point of difference between your plan and what you were doing, and General Masemola / General Khumalo's plan and what they were proposing. That's all I was pointing out. You can comment, General, if you want to. I don't want you to.
We were. I want to comment, but I wanted the Commissioner to. We were all on a transition or transitional period where we're saying task teams must be disestablished and we must capacitate the units that are established. And for the murder and robbery unit to function, at some point we need to bite the bullet and make sure that we capacitate once and for all murder and robbery unit to be effective. And that is, from my angle, I was moving from the person who's actually managing the performance of the detectives. From my angle, I'm just trying to ask the Commission not to limit the performance of my responsibilities to the mistakes that might have happened or taken place only because of the portion of the PKTT. But in my case, incapacitating the murder and robbery unit, we needed to make sure that we need all the capacities, that we have all the experience that we have in those structures, so that we have a capable state.